Hi everybody! Today I thought you might like to see how I make a Christmas lantern very easily without templates. I'm using a nativity scene, but of course you could decorate it any way you like. The way I do it is take 4 pieces of A4 card cut across the width 10 centimeters wide. Once I've done that, then I take them and score a line 1 centimeter in from one long edge. Now actually the best way of doing it is to measure 9 centimeters from the opposite edge, because that determines the size of the panel, and the 1 centimeter bit doesn't have to be accurate because that's the bit that's folded and pasted. Once I've done that, then I have to score horizontal lines, one at 12 centimeters from the base, which is the top of the panel, and then the other one at the top of the roof, which is 6 centimeters above that, so in total 18 centimeters. And having done that, I then make a little notch at the 12 centimeter horizontal line. I've cut out a V shape so you can see it, but in fact you only need one because it's the bottom bit that folds and pastes. And then I take a little notch off the base of the paper as well. Once I've done that, I've got the basic form of my panel, and I'm going to need to repeat this on all 4, but I am going to be cutting out the center into an oval shape for this particular design, and to do that I've got an oval die from one of my sets, which is quite elaborate, but that doesn't matter because it's the simple oval shape of it that will cut out the bit that I want. So I am just going to position it in the center of the panel, then using some low tack tape cut it out on the big shot, and then I will have this oval opening which I'm showing on a piece of white card here. So once I've done that, I want to frame it, and the way that I do that is to take another part of the same set that the oval die came from and cut out an outer frame. Now the actual decorative piece is quite pretty. It's not necessarily seasonal, it actually works for anything, and Christmas is good too. So with that I've got a smaller oval inside it which I've taken from another set because I want it to be slightly smaller than the oval shape that I've cut out from the card, so as you see it just fits inside. So on my piece of silver card I will lie the big floral frame. I am going to be putting the oval inside and tape to hold it in position and run it through the big shot, and then the net result is that I get a very nice frame piece that I can stick on each panel. So I do one for each panel, and here it is, and it can be just stuck in place and overlap that bigger oval on the panels for my scene. Once I've done that, the other bit of die cutting that I've got to do on this panel is for the attachments at the top of the lantern. 2 of the panels are going to have rectangular shapes, the other 2 are going to have double semicircles, and I've used 2 of my nested circle dies, and I've just connected them with a little bit of low tack glue, and I'm positioning them in the middle of the panel, right across that horizontal score line halfway, so that what I'm going to be getting is, with a bit of partial die cutting using card stacks, I will get semicircles. So I'm just doing a mock-up here because obviously this should be on the big shot, and just build up your card stacks, lining them up along that horizontal line until you can run it through under the cutting plate. Once that's done, then the net result is that you get these nice cut out semicircles which are going to be folded and snipped in order to hold the lantern assembly. So once that is done, then the next thing that I have to do is on the other pieces, and I've gone back to silver card here, I've scored some lines. Now those lines are in the middle of the panel, and the width of them is the same as the width of the semicircles, which in this particular instance is about 2.7 centimeters. So once I've done that, then the lines that I've scored down to the horizontal I will snip using either guillotine or the scissors so that I can get the shape that I want, which is this. The final bit that I've got to do is take diagonal snips using my guillotine from the corner of the rectangle down to that 12 centimeter horizontal line, and that will give me the shape of the roof. And once I've done that, then the panels are ready to start assembling your scenes. So I've got a one that I've done earlier that I can show you the end result. This is the one with the semicircles on the top. So that's what it should look like when it's ready to create the scene. So in order to do the scene, what I've got is I've just taken one of the panels, and this is just going to be a little mock-up. I'm using a nativity, and to do that I am going to be cutting out all the little bits to make up 4 different scenes. And in this one I am going to be creating the manger in the stable, and here is my die. It's an all occasions die, and what I do want to do is have the stable at the top on a piece of ground, so I don't want it separate. I am going to have to partially die cut it again, and the way to do that is to have a die cut that goes across between those end bits of the barn, leaving a blank card below it. And I'm using ovals cut out from the inner bits of the white card pieces that I showed earlier, and I'm just having a shim underneath the white card, positioning the die on top, being aware of where the end pieces are on the stable, and then carefully positioning it onto the oval before adding card stacks above it. So I'm just putting it on. When I'm happy with its position, I'll just use a little bit of low tack tape to make sure that it doesn't move before adding my card stacks on top. So a tiny bit of tape is in position, and then I'm going to take some card stacks, and again using some low tack tape I'm going to just pop it over the stable. Of course I'll get some extraneous sheep and a few bits and pieces that are in the middle of the stable, but I can dispose of those afterwards. That really isn't a problem. So on my big shot I usually need about 6 to 8 pieces of card. I'm on the base plate, then I've got the precision plate, then the shim, then the oval card, the die, and then my card stacks. And then once I've got as many card stacks as I feel I need, I put the cutting plate over the top and roll it through. Once I've rolled it through, then it's just a question of taking everything off and seeing what the result is. And the result of that is that I have got a partially die cut stable with the bases still attached to the bottom of those ovals. So I'm just removing it from the die itself, and it's sticking well today, but I could always use a bit of baby powder to release that another time. So all I've got to do now is snip across those extra bits, get rid of them, and the net result is that I have got a piece with a floor of the stable that I can use in my frame. So if I show you a quick mock-up of that, how the stable is going to sit, and I will position it in place and stick it in place before I add any vellum behind it. And obviously it's the vellum that the light is going to shine through. So I'm just going to show you again a little mock-up. I use light gold vellum, and I cut out little rectangles, one for each panel, and it will just slide in underneath and will look something like that. Obviously I have to do the other ground pieces as well, and here I just use wavy lines on my oval die and cut out bits to the shapes that I require. Then I do mock-ups of my scenes just so I know that everything is right before I stick those ground pieces in place. So once I've done that, then I'm just showing you how I stick, and I've taken the stable ground piece, and it's just a question of putting a tiny bit of PVA glue on and sticking it at the bottom of the oval, then covering it with the vellum and just sticking the vellum around the edges. Once that's done, then you can think about assembling your lantern. So I've scored across the top pieces of the rectangles and trimmed them into shape and done little slits down the semicircles. Then it's just a question of putting PVA glue along those folds and making sure the panels are in the right order and sticking them. Once that's done, then it's going to look something like this, and the final thing that you've got to do is fold the last sides together. Now it is going to be stored flat, so a good way of sticking those together is to actually do it flat to make sure that you've got everything beautifully aligned. And so I just put a little bit of polythene between the card panels and then the PVA glue, stick along that line, line it up well, put a book over it, press it and leave it to dry. Once it's dry, then it's easy to assemble. Now, the first thing to say is that storing it after Christmas is dead easy. You just pop the roof panels inside the box and then just press it down and put it in a bag, and it's ready then for next year, where you bring up those middle panels, you bring your central scored original rectangles together and then slot the slit semicircles over the top, and your lantern is assembled. Now, this is quite shiny metallized paper, and so if you find that those semicircles aren't holding very well, do as I did and just score across the tops of those rectangles with the embossing outwards, and they'll hold well. The final finishing touch is to add some ribbon. Now, this serves a multitude of purposes. It looks very pretty. It also, if you want to hang it, gives you something to hang it by, and also when you're putting your LED tea light underneath, and remember, please make it LED and not a real candle because this is paper, you've got something to lift it with, and then your lantern is complete, and it's going to look a very pretty Christmas decoration by the day, and then when it comes to evening time, it's going to make a lovely addition to your room with that LED candle lit, and also a lovely tea light for the children with a festive look. So here I'm just turning it round with the tea light inside to show you the different scenes in the semi-darkness. And I hope you agree that it's actually quite an effective and very easy thing to do. And of course you can add all sorts of different scenes, whatever you want. Thank you very much for watching, and if you want more information, do visit my blog where I've got other lanterns on display as well. Thank you again.